Okay, okay.
Okay. My brother, let us start. You understand me? Because the people here, they are really, happy seeing you here with us. And we really, I am very happy. I'm very happy, very, very happy that you are here with us today. So, my brother, the first question I would like to ask, the very first, we the Edos, we were once called Igodomigodo, right?
Yes.
We were once called, the land was, once called Idu land, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I don't know if I know you know, a lot of tribe now. I have seen some Asian people said, hey, the Idu is also their ancestor. Igbo claim, everybody's just claiming Idu, they are the Idu. Some people from Igbo land saying Idu was a woman. So I'm somebody that is trying to tell people, look, what is Idu? If you are the owner of Idu, take it and leave Edus alone. You can spoil our story. So I want you to just analyze that Idu, because some people like Igbo man claim you, or Igbo people claim Idu, for instance. How possible is that? Idu, how did you speak another language there? If we, the Edos, we said Idu is our ancestor, from Idu to Igodomigodo to Edu, one language. You can't be from Idu and you are speaking Igbo. I don't know. So I want to ask you to just analyze it. Why they are claiming Idu, Robo claim Idu, the other one claim Idu. So, my brother, the floor is yours.
All right, Aaron. Thank you very much, Mr. Wounded Civilian. Well, when you are big, you are big. Everybody in the entire world wants to claim your history because you have history. It's only the Edo people that genuinely have an history that is not laden with lies and propaganda and fallacy. Our history is unique, is real, it's something you can connect with. So that is why at every point of our history, all of our neighboring tribes have been trying to connect to our history because they don't have an history of theirs to connect to. So some, at the beginning of our history, during the very genesis of how we started as a people, that's when you had Paidu. So I heard that the Igbo people are claiming that they are also, Idu is one of their own songs and all of that. They were passing through Edo land and all of that. I'm quite very aware of that. Just like at one point in history, the Yorubas are also claiming that Oduduwa is also theirs. So we shouldn't be sad about that. We should either be very appreciative to God Almighty and our ancestors who has given us so much rich history that all our so-called majority neighbors who brags at all times that they have numbers, they have more states. All right, one thing that keeps tying them to this minority, the so-called minority tribe that they call the Edo tribe, is our history. They don't have what we have as an ethnic group, and that is why they want to try and connect to our history. And what will a usurper do? A usurper will always want to come and say that instead of to show the envy, that they envy the true owner of those history, they want to try and usurp the history for themselves. Well, Idu is the most prominent Edo man that history can remember. He was not the very first, because in folklores, in folktales, in songs and parables, we're able to interpret the history of so many years ago. We're not talking about the history of the Obas of Benin. We're not talking about the history of the Ogisos of Benin. This is an history that dates centuries of years back, before the eras of the Ogisos, before the eras of the Obas. So this is probably the very beginning of our history. That is when you talk about the Idu history. All right. The Idu, it's an Edo word, or it's an Idu word, it's an Igodo word, it's an Ubini word that means the beginning. You see it very prominent in almost all our day-to-day activities. Idunwe Igbo, Idunwe Olia, the heart, the beginning. And all of that. But don't also forget that it is part of the extant history of the Edo people through songs that so that means the Benin people remembers that even the Idu himself, that we now call our progenitor, was also given birth by earliest Edo sons and daughters that some, because of the history is too old, we can no longer be able to remember. Someone has to start the history of a people, but that does not mean he was the first person that came out. So Idu became very prominent because of what he contributed to the Edo land, and that is why we now literally refer to him as our progenitor. But Edo has already been established hundreds of years even before the birth of Idu. But the history remembers that it is Ogbe, it is Alaka, where we now call Ogbe Alaka. There's a shrine. It is at that territory that Idu was born. Well, I've also gone through the fact that what Idu means the beginning, the heart of a something. So you had prominent words like Idu, Iduen, Iduen Yoto, Iduen Ubekun. You know, it's the heart, the beginning. Anywhere, economic zone. The heart. All right. Sorry about the network. It's like a heart of a matter. It's like a heart of a something. That's what the Benin calls Idu. All right. Now, Idu had, at the time, what brought Idu into prominence was because of some environmental troubles that our land faced. All right. An environmental trouble. In short, it is the entire world that had that issue. The word historians call it the post-Adamic cataclysm, the flood that took half of the entire world. The Edo people also had that flooding issue. So because we are quite very close to the shoreline, we needed to move up north, somewhere a bit far off from where the water, the flood can wash us off from the surface. We moved up north. So around a present location we now called Kogi, it was the Idu, he was the Idu man that led every other people in our locality to a present location, a present place now that is now believed to be Kogi State. All right. He moved every other tribes that was also looking to survive, whether as Igbos or whether as Yorubas that were in present-day southern Nigeria, also moved to that place. And they conjointly named that place Uhe. Uhe. All right? The Idu was the leader of the Edo group. The people now regarded as the present-day Edo people led us to a place. We now referred to that place as Uhe. In there, he gave birth to 3 sons and 4 daughters. He had 7 children. In there, he died. He was buried. All right. He became the very first leader of every other tribes. So the place that we settled, we now referred historically as Uhe, we were not the only people who stayed there. Every other tribe also came there. And that became like a melting pot of a civilization. Because a melting pot of other civilizations, we moving there, other tribes moving there. So it now became a multi-ethnic society. Led the first ruler of the leader of all of these tribes was Idu. A shrine was built for him, and a shrine was built for him there that the Edo people worshipped him. He died there and was buried. And a chief, a sort of a priest, was chosen to propitiate the holiness of Idu. And that priest is what we call Azama. All right. But after our father, our now progenitor, died, his children, most especially his three sons, Aka, Efa, Emehi, all right, started to have troubles with every other ethnic groups, most especially other ethnic groups, that leadership that were not in control, because the first people to have a leader that ruled the entire Uhe people was the Edo people. It was rotational. After the Edo people, it moved to other tribes. So, but those other tribes envied us. So they made Uhe unbearable for the children of Paidu. They had no choice that they had to return back to their original home. Get it very clearly. A lot of people have made this mistake, generally saying that we came from Kogi. No, we were always from here. God created us right here in our land. Only that at one point in history, we moved. All right. The contingency group that moved, not all of them returned. It was the sons of these people who moved initially and eventually returned after the flood issue had subsided. So they moved back. When they moved back, some died on the way, like Aka, the first son of Paidu. It is the Aka that the earliest Urobo people came from. The Uobos are direct descendants of Aka. All right, but Aka died on the way, and other two sons, Efa and Emehi, got back to this land where we now call Benin City. Got here, and the first place they were able to settle was at the Ikpoba Hill. All right, they settled at present-day Ikpoba Hill. And looking at the beautiful Ikpoba River and the Ogba River, they called the land of their ancestors a place of heavenly pageantry. And that in an ancient Edo language, it is called Ubini. Ubini means in ancient Edo language, a place of heavenly, a beautiful place. A place of heavenly pageantry. Let no man deceive you. Ubini as a word was already in existence hundreds of years before we were later also called Igodomigodo. Ubini is an older statement than the word Igodomigodo. It's way older than, it's almost 3,000 or 4,000 years older than when we started to have relationship with the Ife people. So the concept of the word Benin coming from Ile Binu is totally absurd, and it's not historical, and it's not concrete as far our history is concerned. The word Benin came from Ubini, and Ubini as a word had existed thousands of years before we ever had any relationship with the Ile Ife people. So the word Benin that we are now know today is coined from its original term Ubini, meaning the place of heavenly pageantry. At one point in time, the land was referred to as Ubini because that was the name the two remaining sons of Paidu gave to our land, Efa and Emehi. All right, now it was three groups: the Aka group, the Efa, and the Emehi group. The Aka group broke out and went to present-day Udo land. The other two, the Efa and the Emehi, came to present-day Benin land. Now, Udo would have taken precedence. Udo would have been the capital of what eventually became the Benin Empire. Why he did not become the capital is because the staff of authority of Paidu was taken by his chief priest, which we call Azamanuhe. That staff was not taken to Udo, the staff was taken to Benin. In later years of our history, 1,000 years later, you had the Benin had so many wars with the Udo people. The Benin always won that war because the staff of seniority, the staff of recognition, the staff that recognizes us as an ethnic group was already buried here in Benin. It's in the heart of Benin. The staff is still there to date. It's just that I'm not permitted to talk about the whereabouts of the staff. So that is why all the wars that the Udo people had with the Benin, they could not conquer the Benin, even if we were all Benin people. But they wanted the capital city to go to Udo, because Udo, by right, are the first line of Paidu. The second son is Efa, and the third son is Emehi. However, once it happened, the Azaman were honored by the staff of authority. He placed it here in Benin, and that's why Benin remains undefeated with every other branches of Paidu. All right. So if Igbos or any other persons are laying claim to Paidu, all right, it therefore means at one point in history they were our children. Legitimately, every Edo man must either be of Efa. It's either you are from Efa family, you are from Emehi family, or you're from Aka family. The Lamogun, the Latose, the Lavieze, the Laigesan, they are all predominantly from two family. Two family of Ogi Boedo, the remaining two sons of Paidu, Emehi, the people who greet La Mehi, and Laidu, that is the Efa family, where you have the Ugefa. All right. So basically, if Igbo claims that one of their progenitor is Idu, it therefore means that they are our children, because the only way you can be of Idu origin is for you to be of Benin origin, because Idu himself is an Edo man. The history already has connotes where he was born. All right, we know where Idu was born. We still have an Ihimi tree at Ogbe. We call it Ihimio Tedo, the oldest Ihimi in the entire Benin Kingdom. It's still existing. Is that the Ogbenalaka shrine? All right, that is the Ihimi. It was the conclave of that Ihimi. That was where Idu was born. It was from there Benin started to expand to every other what we now refer to as the 31 premium towns. It was 31 premium quarters that makes up of the original Benin. 31 of them. Ogbe was one, Alaka was one. You have Imi as two, Undumu as four, Ugbekun. They were like 31 of them, the premium quarters, and all of them were named after Idu. Idunwe Ivioto, Idunwe Ugbekun, Dun, and all of that, etc., etc. So let nobody comes up with the concept that they are of Idu. All right, Idu, it's a Benin man. He was born here in Benin. He was bred here, but he was not buried here. He was buried at a place the Benin is now called Uhe. I've done over an hour documentary trying to say that Uhe is not present-day Ile-Ife in Osun State. The original Uhe that the Benins knew that Paidu was buried is at the present-day Kogi State. Because when the Portuguese people came in the 15th century, some Obas of Benin were still paying tribute to Paidu that was buried at Uhe in Kogi State. So they gave a geographical description of where the Obas of Benin used to go and where they paid tribute to. It could not have been southwest. According to the map, it said the place is northeast of Benin, and it is a town below the great waters. There are no great waters in Osun State. They were referring to River Niger, and that is like the confluence of River Niger, which is present-day Kogi State. So we know that the original Uhe, Nedowa Ayovegenende, is at the present-day Kogi State, and that's where Idu was buried. But though he was born in Benin, but he was buried there. And so, because he was buried there, the Benin people of the old, all throughout the era of the Ogisos, terminating at the era of Obaiwai the first, all Ogisos of Benin used to go to present-day Kogi State to pay pilgrimage. Like Uhe was a pilgrimage home of the Edo people because of what Idu represents in the life of our Edo people as being the progenitor. So every year, the nobles and the king of Benin must go there to pay pilgrimage. Uhe became a pilgrimage home of the Edo people. But in order for it became, at one point in history, it became very uncomfortable for the Edo people to be traveling that distance. That is when they now invoked the spirit of Idu and brought it to Benin as a form of Eimidu. And that became a royal deity. All right, it used in the old, it used to be for every Edo man. But after the invocation, when the spirit was moved from Uhe, because at the time when Uhe was not declining, the Benins of old realized that they needed to move the spirit, the spirituality of Uhe back to the original home. And they invoked it in the form of what we now call Eimidu. So that is why Eimidu now is now prominent amongst the Edo people. All of these people who are claiming that Idu, they don't even be a Idu name. Idu Bowa, Idu Onze, Idu Eyekeme. We as enshrined the Idu concept, and we are the only people who are related to Idu that still sanctify spiritually the concept of Idu through Eimidu. Igbinidu, a lot of Benin names. None of these people bears Idu as any of their names. We still appreciate what Idu represents in our history, and that shows that he was never a foreigner in our midst. He is part of us, and every other person who is connected to him, we are very happy. All right. So every other later tribes who left Benin to form, like the Asans and all of that, they have a right to also claim Idu, because indirectly they are children of Idu. Directly, we are children of Idu. Indirectly, if Igbos now say that Idu is also part of them, that means they are indirectly children of Idu. They are directly our children, and indirectly the children of Idu, because we are the descendants of Efa Emehi, the two surviving sons of Paidu. So whoever comes from us is indirectly the son of Paidu. So whoever is claiming Idu is not wrong. But he or she must also agree that when you claim Paidu, you are also an Edo man, or you are also a breakout group from Edo group. You cannot claim Paidu and say that you are not an Edo man, because Idu himself was born in Edo land and is an Edo man. So this is the concept. It was in later years when we started having formation of kingship through the coming of the Ogisos that Ubini eventually was not changed to Igodomigodo.
Can you tell us the story how the Igodomigodo come about? You know, we have been dealing on the era. Now let's talk about, because after Igodomigodo now, we now enter Edo. Please tell us about Igodomigodo before, and Ogiso just, you know, wrap it up together. Igodomigodo era and Ogiso era. Because, you know, when it comes to the last Ogiso Wudu, you know, something happened, which this, I would say, the Benin enemies, they are trying to change some story concerning, you know, let us deal with Igodomigodo now. We are getting there. Go ahead, my brother.
All right. The Benin, what people really did not understand is that the oldest system of government in Benin is not kingship. The oldest system of governance in Benin is gerontocracy or John-wayship. The oldest system. Since the creation of Edo, we have always, it's the Ejon, the oldest people that has always governed us, and that's why we are wise people. We have always went through the tutelage of the wisest, the oldest people in the land. We were not having a central government system. We're not having a king that presides over the land. It was never always like that. Like I said, originally there were 23 villages or quarters that makes up Benin. All right, each of these villages or quarters had an Ojonwe who presided over them. That is how it has always been from the very beginning of our history. Until a man
established that Ojonwe kind of government. Because you are saying that people are thinking it was during the time of Ogiso. No, we have been Ojonwe kind of government.
There have been Ojonwe. One cannot say whether it was Paidu that established the Ojonwe system. The Ojonwe system might even be older than Paidu himself. The Ojonwe system has always been the system that God gave to us on how we can rule ourselves, the wisdom from God. It was our own wisdom, human wisdom, that mitigated into kingship. All right? There was a very intelligent man called Igodo, who hailed from Udo, but his mother came from Ugbekun in present-day Benin. All right, he came here. And from there, his father's name, you know, I've also heard that some Igbo people are also saying that an Igodo is also an Igbo man. There is an extant Benin history that recognizes the father, Ododu Neri Godo. Ododu, except they should also tell us that Odudu is also an Igbo word. Ododu is a man who gave birth to Igodo. Ododuemen, the heart of a matter. Ododuemen, the heart of a matter. Ododu was a father. In Benin history, when you are counting, you say Ododuneri Godo. That is the father of Igodo, was called Odudu. All right, he was from Udo, but his own mother, he went to stay with his grandmother who hailed from Ugbekun. At the time he was at Ugbekun, he was staying with his grandmother at Iduivioto. All right, Iduivioto is an adjacent of Ugbekun. They are both touching themselves. They share boundary. Iduivioto and Ugbekun. If you understand present-day Benin, the present-day Iduivioto are Sapler Road area. All right, in between present-day MM to around PZ.
Yeah, these two areas.
Those areas
people call it these days, you know.
Then while Ugbekun is at the back, at Upper Sakomba. So that means Iduivioto and Ugbekun shares the same boundary. All right. So when he was at Iduivioto, he went to build his house at Ugbekun. Then he started to nurse an ambition of having a central government. So he started to lobby. He started to convince all of this Ojonwe that instead of we to be having each quarter having an Ojonwe, why can't we come together as one, since we are one people? Why can't we come together and have one leader that will not be leading over everybody? All right. Okay, then I said, well, it will be difficult. How do we now convince the people? Because each of these quarter have been living independently of the other quarter. How do we now bring all of these quarters together to now have one person from one of the quarter to rule over them? Well, it was a game of wisdom. So some of the elders who were also Ojonwe in their respective quarters now advised Igodo that the only way the entire land can accept him or anybody as a leader, a ruler over the entire land, we must package him as someone who came from heaven, who came from the sky, so that they can have a divine feel, they can have a divine attribute, so that the people will not, oh, God sent this man to us to come and deliver us. So they not gave him a divine attribute. All right, they not packaged him and gave him a divine attribute so that the Edo people can easily accept him as being someone who God sent himself. So they now called him Oge, not Kisore. It is a literal expression of the Edo people accept whoever that will become a central leader of them. It is not as if they came from the sky. We are not Yoruba people that their progenitor begins to fall from the sky. These were human beings, they have fathers. It was only in a way, in a bid to convince the Edo people that this man has a divine attribute so that they can accept him. So that's why they're not giving him that titular recognition as Ogisho, what we now call Ogisho. So he was able to play all of these politics and conviction. He was now projected by some elders. Then the Edo people now accepted him as a unifying leader of all of these respective villages that had separate leadership system, and they now gave him the title Ogisho. All right, because of his capacity. Don't also forget the reason at one point of history that our land was called Idu land was because of the role Idu also played during his era. Because of the role that Igodo also played during his whole era, they now also said that this land is the land of Igodo. Igodo Migodo. Named after their first unifying leader. We have had series of leaders before, but they were not a central government. This was the first time the Benin people would be having, or the Edo people, or the Idu people will be having a central government and a central leader, and that was Igodo. All right, it was now called Igodo Migodo. All right, the land of Igodo. All right, because of what attributes Igodo had played. All right, by bringing everybody together. Even while Ogisho Igodo, when he reigned, after he died, his grandson reigned, Ogishoe and all of that. The entire Benin people was still not, the entire villages that now makes up present day Benin land was still not subservient to the rulership of the Ogishos until one of my favorites, my favorite of all the Ogishos, not one of my favorite, my favorite of all the Ogishos, called Ogisho Odoligie, who is the first warrior king of Benin, not Obaewa the first. Ogisho Odoligie is the first warrior king of Benin, who now said that as far as you are a Benin man or a woman, you must be subservient to the rulership of one true king. So that's when he started to take war to the extremities of present-day Benin land, the Benin Urunigbe War, the Benin Igwabode War, the Benin Udo War. These were three localities that were independent from the earliest 21 or so Ogishos before the era of Ogisho Delegate. So he brought Urunigbe to the Nile. He brought Igwabode. Igwabode is now extinct. I'm from the area of Igwabode in present day. Igwabode is inside the Ekoreomo. The leader of that Igwabode troop was Owege. He brought Owege to his knees. Then he brought Dudo, led by Akpani Gyako. He brought them to the knees. So he was not the one who now fully unites the entire Benin land as one. All right. At that time, it was still called Megodo.
Please, you can call me now. Let our brother finish what he's saying. You can call me through video call and ask him questions. I can see calls are coming. There's no time for calling. He must finish. Let him say everything. Tell us the story, because he's the lion in this field. Me, I'm learning from him when it comes to this kind of, because what he's saying now, it is the same thing. I have my father saying things like this, because what he's saying is confirming it. Because I don't know I go into politics. So what he's saying now, everybody waits. When he's done, then he can take questions. My brother, continue.
All right. So Odelige eventually brought all of these Benin territories and united them to an indefensible, now become an indefensible kingdom that is united by one king. All right, until after eras, until its great grandson Ogiso Wodo, who now had issues of trying, excuse me please, of the Kaladeran, we understand all of that story, except some persons I might have to go through it. Some story that is so common that most times I don't like just talking about. All right, that led to the Oba era. All right, a lot of persons have been trying to say, why did the Benin people change the name Ogiso to Oba? All right, like I have said, if you those who have been following me since understand that we have changed name of the land by the prevailing circumstances. It's also how we've been changing the name of the kings. Like the earliest rulers of our land were Ojonwe. From Ojonwe changed to Ogiso. From Ogiso it changed to Oba. All right, but it has been proven beyond reasonable doubt by all evidence from archival materials, from intelligent report, from the history, from our language, that the word Oba, it's genuinely an Edo word. It has no inclination. It has no inclination towards Yoruba. Yoruba might have a meaning for it, all right, but it's us, all right. They could a tribe, like for example, there's a word in Igbo that is Okoro. The Benin also has an Okoro. We didn't steal it from the Igbo. I don't think the Igbo steal it from us. It's not, that's not my edict. It means prince in Benin. It means warrior in Igbo. All right. So God, there's what we call a geological coincidence. In as far that we are all created by one God, we begin to think alike. We begin to have words, semblances of word that, and don't also forget, at Uhe, thousands of years ago, like I have established at the beginning, these ethnic groups were together in one place. So words could have been mixed, words could have been copied, words could have been co-owned, all right, words could have been co-learned, all right. It is rather unfair, stupid, and childish for one of the tribe to not feel that every word that appears in Edo that also appears in their own, all right, they own it. And that's why one of the biggest problems I have with the Yoruba people, all right, every word that appears in Edo that also appears in Yoruba, the Yorubas has made us to realize or feel that they own it. And yet, it is never recorded in any history books anywhere, written by the Europeans, written by the local historian, that the Yoruba ever defeated Benin people in any war.
In any war, no. We
subjected half of their land, half of the entire Yoruba land was under the supremacy of the Edo people. Now, the people who we saw beaten, who we saw dismantled several times historically, how then do we not steal their words? How then they didn't copy anything from us? Yet it seems that we copy everything. That's where the rationale, I'm always questioning the authenticity of their history. All right? So, basically, the word Ogiso changed and that became Oba, and another Edo word. And it has been so to the very present day. All right? So, don't also forget that after Igodomi, after the eras of the...
Okay, my brother, there's